Hey, what's up guys? As from the video that I posted yesterday, I wanted to go ahead and talk about one of my favorite chart patterns that ended up happening on GC, which is gold's futures. This does happen across anything that has price action, right? So it happens in small cap land, it happens in mid cap, it happens in large caps, obviously it happens in futures. I just wanted to go ahead and dive into this pattern and show you guys why I love this pattern and why this pattern honestly is a very like I have a high success and a high win rate with this pattern. So just to get straight into it, we're gonna go ahead and mark up our charts here, and I also want to make sure I get paint because I want to show you guys like live examples. Well, it's not gonna be live, but like kind of just a drawing of like how this thing could look, because I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the risk reward, how to stop out, where entries could possibly be, and all of that stuff. Because guys, this pattern, it'll show up regardless if you know what you're looking for. This pattern will consistently show up in all aspects. Now it is kind of rare, but I have seen this pattern play out so many times, and I thought that this will be like a good little discussion. It's a very simple pattern, and there's many ways to go ahead and enter it. So the first thing we're gonna do, guys, is essentially you're gonna see this nice uptrend that gold gets on, right? Keep in mind, gold has been making all-time highs. Now, there's many confluences that go to or through this specific pattern here, because we have gold pushing all-time highs, right? We also have a psych level of like 4,550, right? So like anytime the whole and half numbers are huge. So like for gold, it'll be 5,000 flat, maybe 5,025, 5,050, you know, so on and so forth. Like every quarter, you know, it's almost like a psych level, and then you know you can even push it to like, you know, like flat levels like 4,200, 300, so on and so forth. They're psych levels. So what I think happened on gold in futures is, one, if we pull up GLD, right? And we were to pull up GLD, and this is how I correlate it, right? If we pull up GLD, which here it is, what you're gonna notice is GLD has been on several gap ups. Now, what is the chances that the ETF is going to open up, gapped up again after having one, you know, what is it, 1, 2, you know, and then it starts grinding. So this is already 2 gaps. What's the chances after this kind of move right here that this is going to be gapped up over 413.76 or 413.76? So I'm correlating, right? I'm correlating the futures price action with my intuition on how the ETF can open, right? So the more things you could kind of attach to the trade, the better. And in this specific, you know, thought process, I'm like, dude, what are the chances? Like is gold actually gonna go for 420 in the after hours? Like, are we really gonna get another gap and then push up to 420s? I felt like it was highly unlikely, and because of that, right, now my goal, right, is to try to find a setup, a pattern that I know, a trend line, it could be anything, that I will be able to short off of, right? That was my thought process behind the GC futures trade. So let's go back to GC. So what do? Well, the first thing I want to go ahead and do, guys, and I did this in my Tradeify, right? I don't have the trend line drawn here, but the thing I did was, it was kind of simple, right? Like you just draw a trend line. So you can always do like one of these. Look how many of these touch. Of course, like it dips under, soaks, rips up, dips under, soaks, and by the way, it's soaking VWAP, right? So dip under, soaks twice. So, well, what do? So you can draw this trend line and wait for the trend line to break. What I like to do in regards to this pattern actually is I like to see where the buyers are and where the sellers are. So you have the high, right? This put in a high. You always want to have this marked up on your chart. This is so important to draw these horizontal lines. And then I like to draw these as well. So I'll draw that, and then I'll draw this. Right? So you have this is the demand, this is resistance, and this is the high of the resistance, right? Now, what you're starting to see is like a consolidation here, where it seems like there's selling pressure coming in, there's buyers trying to step in, and we're going to find out who's going to win this battle. Now, clearly, you guys can see who wins this battle, but the goal is to know what this pattern is. So it's almost building bases, right? It's building a base for demand, and once this breaks, it can really, really roll over. Now, one of the things about this pattern is sometimes you can get the break and then a rip right back up. So just make sure if you're playing straight off this break, make sure you're sized in where your stop should still be a little bit above this high, right? So whether that's 30, 40% of your position, I don't know. That's all dependent on you and how you want to scale into positions. I would never suggest to one-shot shoot this entry, especially if you have like full size, like, because this is, I mean, it's also dependent on risk tolerance, right? So I wouldn't one-shot this because it's not for certain. What you want to start seeing is pops to fade, or you want to see a continuous fade, like a continuous pressure. It's starting to really fail to follow through. So we get these upticks, and it looks like we're staying heavy under this area. So anywhere up here, you could start putting some size on, right? You could start, maybe getting some, some shorts in anywhere around this vicinity, and you're always going to be risking just above the high. So like I would probably risk like a flat 4, 5, 5, 6 level. That's what I would risk, right? So once this demand breaks, right, you want to kind of sit on hands for a second because you don't want it to just do like a quick fake, right? You don't want it to flush and then it turn into a soak, because remember, you don't know what's going to happen. So you don't want this to soak like this previous candle or this previous candle. You want it to continue to fail to follow through. So it fails again, but it shows a little bit of a wick. So it's a little bit concerning. It's holding the trend line. This candle right here is when it's really interesting. So how I would get in, personally, keep in mind when I got into the trade, I got in up here in my futures. But when I would want to start to get in is somewhere in this vicinity. This is where this is a really, really good setup because we're really starting to let go. Now, you have to decide what type of sizing you're willing to take now, because you have to accept the fact that you are getting in off of a confirmation, which means that you have a further risk now than you would if you were up here. Remember, when I got in my futures trade, I was somewhere in this vicinity. I was up here. So my risk was relatively tight comparative to this. But this is still a very high quality setup because you're getting under that trend line. You know that this has built some sort of supply up here, and it's broken this demand level that it's been consolidating in for quite a bit of time. So you get that break and you get an immediate washout. Now, when I see something that's above VWAP, I'm always proactive, guys. Anytime VWAP is under price action, which means it's bullish sentiment, I always cover into a VWAP top. Doesn't matter what the size is. If I'm 100% in my position, more than likely I'm taking about 65 to 70% of my position off at VWAP, because I know if it really gets to roll, I can always add into the position, or I can let just my winner run. And sometimes and often, that 30% that you leave on can honestly make almost like a full-size position, guys. Depending on how far this thing wants to really drip out, you can actually get a full-size profit off of 30% of gains. And that's what people need to understand when it comes to the scaling method of trading, right? You don't have to stay full-size. Well, yes, your P&L could be bigger on full-size, but you can still get an excellent move even if you don't rescale into this. Because the last thing you want is a flush out, you not taking any profits because it's holding previous day highs, it bids back up, and now you're worried about, oh my God, what if this continues up now? You don't want to put yourself in that situation. You want to be able to take what you can get and then be, at least for me, right? This is not financial advice or anything like that. But in terms of the way that I've traded and the way that I've learned from Nate from Investors Underground, I would much rather take the profit and be able to scale in on another pop that fails to follow through. So like, this fails, right? Keep in mind, I'm covering a good portion here. No matter what, this is going to be a green trade. Now it's just a matter of how green is it going to be. So now we get this failure, but it's building above the previous day highs now, right? It's starting that you start to see these soaks and then it grinds. It gets above VWAP, more than likely stopping anyone out who was shorting versus VWAP or was hammering on these flushes. Builds it back up, probably stopped a bunch of people, and then lets it go and completely lets it go. All this, you can be scared. As soon as this honestly starts to fail VWAP, and also look, you'll notice that there's wicks here, right? You get this flush soak. Remember these soak candles. Flush soak, starts to hold a bid here. Gets above VWAP, lets go of VWAP, and then this candle comes in and washes out. On the break of VWAP and it's staying heavy under VWAP, I want to be engaged again in this trade, guys. I want to be engaged in this trade again as it's staying under my 9 EMA and my 21 EMA. Now under VWAP. And I want to be able to ride this trade out. Now, this is the type of trade where I'm willing to hold longer for the macro move because of the fact that it got above VWAP, and I know how people react to it, right? So they will 100% more than likely be stopping out, and they won't be engaging in this position no more, right? Like, they won't. They'll be like, oh, my God, you know. A lot of people, they don't have the mindset to get back into a position after they lose, whether it's fear, whether it's whatever the case may be. They don't get back in, right? So, but me, I am willing to hold that partial on and then rescale on a break under VWAP again and hold under my EMAs. And you're capable of getting this whole washout. Now, with that being said, obviously I didn't take this whole move. I actually didn't even catch this whole move because Tradeify has that stupid consistency rule. But if it didn't have that consistency rule, guys, this is a trade that I would have held on for the majority, like at 100% for this move. Like, I more than likely would have covered 100% into this because this is the previous day's close. So it actually goes red. I don't care what it does. I don't care if it washes all the way down. I'm going to take this off. Like, this would be 100%. I'm getting out of this position. Now, I want to go ahead and show you guys, well, how would you stop in this position? Hopefully, I can draw this on paint relatively nice. So let's see if I could get a pen. Like, how does this look? This looks like ass, but look, so it looks like that, right? And then you get like this, then you get 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 this, and then you get the wash, right? Right? That's exactly kind of what we see right here, right? You see how it looks like that? All right, so now what you want to go ahead and do, this is the demand that breaks. This is the supply, right? What you always want to be cautious of, depending on how you size, right? Because you can always get in. Let's make the entry green. You can always get in on the break of this, right? And then your risk can always be right here. You just have to make sure you're sizing accordingly. Now, one thing that I want you guys to understand is sometimes it'll do this, right? It'll get that move. You have to be a profit taker somewhere around here, right? You have to take profits here, because what can happen is if you don't know how to rescale, right? What can happen is you can get the pop. I should draw this black. So let's go over this. You can get this pop, and it can break this. No matter what, guys, there's so many people, bro, they'll see this and they don't stop out. Guys, this is one of the worst situations, especially if you're trading small cap in a low float, because you'll see this in low floats. You need to stop out, because this, especially in small cap, because remember, this is just a pattern. This can play across anything. If you do not stop out in small cap land on this pattern, you are running the risk of an exponential just rip up, because now it's broken the supply that is built. More than likely what it did was it just set up a trap for everyone shorting this, especially if you have something like VWAP. Let's say VWAP's like boom, 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 and then it's kind of swiping up, like it's ascending. VWAP's ascending. They'll play that trick, or even what they'll do is, where's the eraser for this, dude? All right, let's get this out of here. So what they'll even do sometimes, right? They'll flush this thing out. They'll flush this thing out sub VWAP. They'll flush it sub VWAP. Oh my God, where's the brush at? Was this what I was using? No, dude. What the heck was I using? What was I using? Let's go to this. All right. So they'll flush it under VWAP, trap everyone, and then rip it all the way back up. You have to stop out, guys, because you will 100 like, bro. There's a high chance if you're not stopping out and you're in a low floater, you're gonna get trapped in halts. It's gonna get very, very scary. And this is the same thing for, you know, whether you're trading equities, options, whatever the case may be. If this fail does not work and it rips above this pattern, you have to stop out, guys. Your stop needs to be like right here. It needs to be like just above. Type shit. Has to be just above, guys. Oh, this is a good breakdown of it and what you guys should be looking for. This is actually one of my favorite patterns in the market. Nate used to talk about this pattern all the time, and I believe this is actually one of his favorite patterns to look at as well. And you'll see this across many, many names. A lot of times when I witness patterns like this, it's always like when things are breaking like out of like 52-week highs, daily highs. You know what? When stocks are making like brand new highs is usually when you see patterns like this. And the reason why is because it's making that intraday supply. In my opinion, that's the reason why. It's making intraday supply. And so you can deem this as just like, you know, you could deem this as like a head and shoulders, right? You have the shoulder right here. You have the head right here. And then you have the other shoulder here. And then the washout. So I hope you guys kind of get the drift of this. You know, there's many ways to go ahead and trade this. And there's many stop outs that you can take. For instance, like, let's say hypothetically you didn't catch this move. What did I say in my last video? Right? If you don't catch this backline fade or this trend line fade, what did I say in my last video? You will make more money sitting on your hands than you will ever make chasing a play. Always remember that, guys. I'm going to say it again because I said it twice in my last video. You will make more money sitting on your hands and waiting for the setup than you will ever make chasing a trade. The reason why is because it's the difference between you being patient and impatient. That does not mean you can never chase, right? You just have to make sure when you're chasing a trade, you're chasing it with chase size. Now, what is chase size? Chase size might be 30% of your normal position. Chase size might be 25% of your normal position. Heck, chase size could be 40%. In my opinion, chase size should never be over 50%. Because now you're running the risk of the fact that you're getting a worse average, chasing a trade, and then being able to stop out. That's the God honest truth. So now you ask yourself, now, what if I miss this? What if I miss this whole move, right? Well, guess what, guys? There's another setup that can show up. You just have to wait. What's the other setup that I talked about? You can draw a trend line, and you can also draw the horizontal lines as well, guys. There's the trend line. Notice how these are all touching. It soaks right here, and then it lets it go, guys. You also have the horizontal line. Here's where I see a lot of people who draw trend lines make mistakes. People who draw trend lines make the mistake without drawing the horizontal line. That is such a mistake. Horizontal lines, in my opinion, are so much more. This is my opinion, of course. Are so much more important than just drawing a trend line. Because sometimes a trend line will break and then it'll just instantly reclaim it. For instance, right here. For instance, right here. For instance, right here. Like, that's 3 right now that clearly got soaked up and kept going. You want it to fail a trend line and a horizontal resistance line at the same time, so at least you know where your stop is. For instance, this trend line's going up, it breaks, right? It breaks the trend line right here. You don't get in here, you wait for this candle to break this bar's low, right? So this bar has to get broken. I don't want to just join in because it broke the trend line. I want to see it actually confirm, and I want to see it confirm this break. Now, if it does pop and tap the trend line, I'm not stopping out, guys. You know where my stop is going to be? I'm going to size in accordingly to right here, because this is the next pivot point for me. Look how many times it got overfilled, overfilled. Surged, came back, failed. You guys can see that. Look at this wick right here. Look how it built over it. This would be my stop. So I have to size in according to this being my stop. You understand that? You see that, guys? This is my stop. On this trade, being that I missed this, right? I missed it, so now I have to be patient. I have to be patient. You get this stop here. This breaks the trend line. It washes completely out. And this is I mean, there's so many R's in terms of reward versus risk on this trade. And that's you being patient even after this washout. Remember, guys, it's so important. If there's anything that you take, whether you believe in this pattern or not, you will always make more money sitting on your hands waiting for the setup than you ever will chasing a full-size position. Keep that in mind, guys. That's all I have for you. It's a 20-minute video on one literal setup. Now, I have many setups that I like to talk about. So if I run through another setup that I really like, I will 100% do another breakdown of a spectacular setup that I find on an intraday basis or whatever the case may be. I will 100% go ahead and do another video like this if you guys end up leaving a comment and telling me you guys enjoyed the video. I know that my channel doesn't get a lot of views. Maybe it's the thumbnails. Maybe it's the fact that my titles suck. I don't really care, to be completely honest. I don't care how many views this gets. But if this has helped anybody, and if you managed to watch this fully through, you know, please leave a like. Please subscribe. I will do more breakdowns on really good setups that I like to trade as we go through the new year and you know, future price action. I'll go into more in-depth price action that I like to see so that you guys can learn, you know, what it is or how I became a profitable trader from being a shit trader. You know what I'm saying? And that's honestly all due to watching Lance Brystein, watching Nate, watching, I mean, you know, SMB, watching Vincent. I mean, it goes on at the Short Bear. It goes on and on and on, man. Like, there's so many people that I learned from, and I just kind of took everything I learned from them and then I molded it into myself, right? Trading is the type of game where the answers are in front of you guys. All of the answers that you need to find, you know, your trading, your pattern, finding yourself, it's all online, guys. I see so many people trying to like create a new wheel. Doug, learn from the people who's already made hundreds of millions of dollars. Whether it's Qual Maggie swing trading, whether it's Ariel Hernandez swing trading, whether it's Nate with, you know, shorting and small caps and just being a fucking beast, whether it's Lance being a fucking animal with the V-shapes, you know, whether it's Vincent with the supply and demands. Like, the formula is already written. And I see too many people trying to build a new wheel that you do not have to build. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, man. I'm done. Merry Christmas to all. Have a good night.